Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome everyone to the Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting today. It's Thursday, May 25th, 2023. The time now is 2:08 p.m. We're here in the Building and Safety Boardroom at 201 North Figueroa Street, 9th floor, Los Angeles, California. I'm President Robert Ahn, and I'll be chairing this meeting today. The following commissioners are also present. We have Commissioners Figueroa Villa to my left, and we actually have a new commissioner. I want to introduce Commissioner Young Lim, who's to my right. It's his first commission hearing today. We want to welcome him. And we also have DCR's Executive Director, Michelle Grockian, who's also present in this meeting, along with members of the department and the City Attorney's Office. Before we begin, I'm going to start with some general instructions. This meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask that when addressing the commission, you speak close to the microphone and only one person at a time. Please make sure you state your name before you speak so we can keep track of the record. Members of the public who wish to only listen to the commission meeting and not provide public comment can call council phone at 213-621-2489 or 818-904-9450. This meeting is also being live streamed. Individuals who wish to watch this meeting can do so by watching or visiting cannabis.lacity.org and clicking the About menu item on the top. Under the About menu, click the Commission Meetings link. Scroll down to the bottom of the Commission Meetings page to find the live stream. We'll be following the agenda for today. The agendas are located at the table by the entrance, along with the speaker cards. Individuals who are physically here and wish to address this commission must fill out a speaker card and specify which item or items you're going to speak on. Individuals can also provide public comment about a specific agenda item virtually via Zoom, via the link provided on the agenda. If you're present at the meeting, please fill out a speaker card and turn it into Osmara or Uribe. Can you guys wave your hand? Where are you guys?
I believe they're out in the lobby area.
Okay. Where will they be located?
Out in the lobby.
Okay. You can find them out in the lobby. By the door. There you are. Okay. Then when I call out your name, please come up to the podium and clearly state your name before you begin to speak. If you're on the Zoom call, when the item you wish to speak on is called, press *9 to get on the speaking queue. And we will then call out each speaker by the last 4 digits of the phone number to identify the caller. The caller will be prompted to unmute themselves by dialing *6. We'll consider general public comment and single or multiple agenda items together. Therefore, speakers will have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute per item with a maximum of 2 minutes for multiple items. We ask that speakers state whether they're providing general public comment and or which other item or items they're speaking on before they begin to comment so we can appropriately time them. If the speaker does not specify which items they're speaking on, only 1 minute will be provided. PowerPoint presentations that were prepared by staff and will be presented today will be made available to the public via link on the specific agenda item. Please make sure we turn off our cell phones and put them on vibrate so as not to disturb the proceedings. Please be respectful. Disruptions will not be tolerated. If you disrupt the proceedings, you will receive 2 warnings. And if you continue to be disruptive thereafter, you'll be asked to leave. And with that, let's go ahead and open the general public comment and single or multiple agenda items. Speakers can address the commission on non-agenda items related to items that are within the jurisdiction of the commission or provide public comment for items in today's agenda. If you're listening on the live stream and have called to provide public comment via Zoom, please mute the live stream audio before you begin speaking to eliminate feedback. We will alternate between calling up individuals here at the meeting and those on the call. Okay, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we have callers on the queue. Caller with phone number ending in 4460. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, I just want to make a general public comment as someone who has been as a business partner of a social equity person since day one. You guys are not making it easy for us. These arbitrary deadlines, it's like since day one, we've had to deal with predatory investors. We've had to deal with all sorts of things. You provide grant money, which helped us get out of that. Then you allowed us to, move our location and gave us 2 more deadlines that we have to meet by now. You are not making it easy for social equity.
Sorry,
people to
ma'am, we
actually prosper.
cannot hear you clearly. Can you speak up?
Oh, you can't. Can you hear me now?
A little better. Can you speak up a little bit more?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Hello? You can hear me better now?
Yes, we're going to go ahead and start your time.
Let's reset your time.
Okay, I just wanted to state, it's just an overall comment of this entire social equity process. As I'm a business partner of a social equity person, and we've had to deal with everything that every other social equity, a lot of social equity people have to deal with, including predatory investors and things of that nature. And it just seems like every time you guys remove a barrier, you place 2 more barriers in its place. The 2 barriers coming up, thank you for allowing us to move our location, right? But I'm sure you all know that people are not leasing to us. We finally found a place, and now we have to abandon before June 30th in order to even qualify for temporary licensing, which isn't even available at the state level because of SB 51 hasn't been pushed through yet. And who knows if it will be. But then we have to apply for temporary licensing by July 31st. Still talking to investors, don't have money, might have a location, may or may not work out. But after that, we have to go through an annual licensing process that doesn't even exist yet. How is this fair to social equity people?
Thank you. Your time
This
is up.
is not, thank you.
Any other callers?
Not on the queue. Public comment here. Multiple and
Multiple. Okay, we have Dr. Tyrone Freeman.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. Dr. Tyrone Freeman, president of the California Minority Alliance. Good to be back, good to be here, good to be present. I will speak today on general items, and then I will move to agenda item number 4 for a total of 2 minutes as the rules were presented to us by Mr. Chairman on. First and foremost, I'd like to, at this moment, recognize and give attributes of good leadership to Ms. Barukian, because I believe that leadership is not a title that is given, but one that is earned. And during the test of time of meeting the deadline, leaders have to make decisions. And the executive director of DCR, for the first time in 6 years, made decisions that were beneficial to the applicants. And those were decisions that I attribute to good leadership. So I wanted to commend the department's leadership as it is and state clearly that CMA and our 7,000 members support her continued position as the executive director of this department. Secondly, we'd like to comment generally in the state that it is important to understand that the social equity program in this city is actually doing what the intent of social equity was drafted to do, led by Dr. Brown. They're providing tools, they're providing resources, and they're providing opportunity for entrepreneurs and people to grow. And we encourage social equity to follow the model of the city of Los Angeles. And for Dr. Brown, job well done, continue. And I don't give out accolades easy, as you know, Mr. Chairman. Never have, and never will. They are earned, and I've seen them over the test of time. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to item number 4. And in item number 4, talk about the licensing program. What I would like this commission and the board to consider, as you heard the caller, and you will see on the streets of Los Angeles, for those who are engaged in this process as social equity applicants, as members of my trade organizations, that there are challenges. There are challenges whenever you are trying to do right for what was done wrong. And therefore, it's not at all surprising that deadlines seem to be coming at most inconvenient times. But as a scholar of business, that's what business is about, Mr. Chairman. And those are the experiences of what the applicants are learning and members of my organization are learning. And that's why it's important to involve themselves in the social equity program by Dr. Brown. But I want to close my comments by saying I would encourage the department and I would encourage the commission to actually focus the annual application process and enforcement and requirements on those who had the license the longest first. And that's where the frustration is. I think the imbalance is spending a lot of time on new applicants and social equity applicants because they're new in the program of having them comply. But for the record, and no offense, and they're part of the organization, the pre-ICOs have been here since 2007. And yet they are the least compliant. They are the most ready, or should be the most ready, to be applicable.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Of those issues that are being raised today, and not just the new applicants who are learning the process. They've been in the game for a long time. So let's force the direction back on those so that we can learn, so that those who are new get that leeway of understanding the system. Then we're not.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. That's all I have for speaker cards. Do we have anything else?
Not on the queue.
Anyone in the queue? Okay. We'll go ahead and now close both the general public comment period and the single or multiple agenda item. We'll move on to commission business. Item number 1. Commissioners, you should have an advanced calendar in front of you with our future meeting dates. Please take a look and advise of any planned absences. I do not have any at the moment. Commissioners?
I do. I have 2 of them. But I'll give them to.
Commissioner, you want to speak to the mic? Yeah.
Are we talking about or at when we're gonna be absent?
If you can't make any of these dates, you might want to specify now.
Well, so far I have July 20th, no.
Okay.
September 7th is a maybe, and the 21st is a no.
Is that September 21st?
September.
So we have July 20th and September 21st. For Commissioner Figueroa.
And I'll go through the rest of it.
Yeah, and you can always let us know or let staff know as your schedule
Thank you.
changes. Commissioner Lim?
Yes, I have a conflict on September 21 and October 5.
Got it. Okay.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We were sent the minutes of February 23rd, 2023 for review. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I was told that if we weren't at the meeting, that we shouldn't vote to approve the minutes.
That's correct. And actually, Mr. Lim, this is your first meeting, so we'll have to push this, I think, to the next commission hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on to commission announcements and updates. And I'll add future agenda requests. Commissioners, do we have any at this time? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is a report from Michelle Grockian, our interim executive director. Ms. Grockian?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
How is everybody? Thanks everybody for coming today. My name is Michelle Garakian. I'm the interim executive director for this Department of Cannabis Regulation here in the city of Los Angeles. Before I begin my presentation, I want to give a special welcome to Commissioner Lim, who was recently appointed by Mayor Bass and confirmed by the City Council. Commissioner Lim has been practicing attorney for over 35 years and is a member of the American Board of Trial Advocates. We thank you for joining us. We're very happy to have you on our commission, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and I just want to also give a shout out to the DCR staff that is present and here today, specifically members of the commission team who are ushering in a new realm of in-person meetings again. As folks may or may not know, this is our first in-person meeting since COVID. I believe it was in early 2020. So it feels really good to be back. Feels good to be in a room with folks and to be accessible and to continue to provide transparent updates to everybody. So with that, I will begin my presentation. Next slide, please. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of the department. I'm going to discuss some highlights today and give you guys insight to how and what DCR is doing. The rest of my team who is here today, Dr. Brown with the Social Equity Program, Jason Colleen with the Licensing Division, and Rocky Wiles, who oversees compliance and enforcement, will provide more details later in the presentation. But I'm going to go about 10,000 feet today. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our recent highlights. I have been in this role since April of 2022. I hope to be in this role longer. But I want to talk about some of the highlights. I'm not necessarily going to call them accomplishments quite yet, but I think we are getting there. This past year, DCR saw a 30% increase in licensing ending in 2022 with 1,347 issued licenses divided across 5 different activities. It should be noted that approximately 30 to 35% of these licenses are social equity businesses. Next, in December 2022, we selected 100 social equity individual applicants for the opportunity to apply for retail storefront license. 28 of these selected applicants were able to reach the state's deadline in April for a provisional license in less than 4 months. That's roughly 30%, which is pretty good numbers. They are now in various stages of the licensing application process, and the first TA from this group was issued very coincidentally on 4/20. So I want to congratulate that individual. DCR has also been pushing an update to our municipal code through council. These changes would streamline our licensing process, make it easier for applicants to maneuver. Jason Colleen, who's sitting next to me, is going to provide some more insight into that today, but it should be noted that, and I want to make this very clear to folks that are listening and folks that are present today, that it is the role and responsibility of government to adapt with the applicants and the licensees in this business. Things are changing in an environment that they are enduring every single day. And it's incumbent upon the leadership of this department and the leadership of the city to listen and to adapt as much as possible to ensure that these businesses don't just make it through the application process, but are in business in the next 1 year, the next 5 years, and hopefully the next 10 years. So DCR will continue to make proposed amendments to the code as necessary to provide support and assistance to our applicants that are going through this process. In 2022, the communications team launched our social media platforms. So congratulations to our communications team, further opening up pathways for communication with our constituents. The more avenues we have, the more hope we are to reach our stakeholders, but the city as a whole. This is very important because the whole purpose of this is to create access and transparency. So we're now on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We're also trying to push out as much information as possible through our various channels, either through our general email update or through the BLC Canna Dispatch, which Dr. Brown will talk about later. It's very important to keep folks updated on a regular basis, sometimes many, many times if necessary, about what is going on in this department, what opportunities are out there, what webinars are happening, what grants are being offered. And I also want to give a shout out to the communications team. We just relaunched our retail map. If folks remember, our retail map was a list of names on our website. Folks would have to copy and paste the address, put it into Google Maps to find their closest local licensed retailer. Now we have a Google embedded map. You just go to the map, open it up. It immediately takes you to a Google map. You put in your starting address and it will take you to the closest license location. This is just going to make it easier for people to shop license and shop local and make good decisions about their health. So I want to give a shout out to our comms team on that. Finally, last not least, and probably the best, would be highlighting our social equity program. which Dr. Brown will discuss in further detail, but it's very important to give props to the social equity team. They are doing a pretty amazing job. As folks know, they have relaunched their job board. They've given out millions of dollars in direct financial assistance. There's more than 100+ hours of self-paced learning modules online. There is the low bono and pro bono assistance program. The list goes on and on. Also, their wonderful events that they've hosted in the past, the Cannabis and Capital event. If you weren't there in a torrential downpour, I'm sorry. It was great. And I hope everybody listening and in attendance today will attend the Cannabis Unite event taking place on June 17th from 3 to 9 p.m. at the Mayfair Hotel. This was an awesome party last year. It's going to be a better party this year, and it's going to be an opportunity and networking event and party. Networking/party. It's going to be a great opportunity for folks to get together in the local equity and local cannabis community to just make connections. And it should be noted, and Dr. Brown will go further, so I don't want to take her shine, but from 3 to 7, there is going to be 3 to 5, there is going to be a supply chain speed dating event. Which is going to be great. You're going to get to meet folks who are local that you can develop business networks and relationships with to make your business more profitable, more sustainable. So please come to the event. It's going to be awesome. You can find it on our website. Next slide, please.
Michelle, can you repeat the date, please?
Sure. It's June 17th
June 10th.
at the Mayfair Hotel from
Thank
3
you.
to 9. All right. So another important thing that we've been trying to do is measure our progress in key performance metrics. These are KPIs are traditionally used in businesses across the world. It's a way for individuals and folks in business to determine progress. And my personal feeling that we need to be monitoring our progress as a department month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, to determine where we need to make these tweaks. And then ultimately what we do is we would look at the tweaks we need to make and alter the code or policy or adjust as needed. So I want to talk about some of the KPIs from the last year. You can see the number of commercial cannabis business licenses in Los Angeles. We have significantly increased our licensing numbers compared to 2028. These are going to continue to increase. We have a lot of folks that are in the pipeline here. Social equity program doubled the amount of financial aid it was provided to social equity individuals until the department has dispersed $15 million in aid to social equity applicants alone. One-on-one coaching. There's a lot of opportunity there. It's fantastic. This is an opportunity for an equity applicant to get paired with a coach who will help them through the application process and any additional business questions. Equity share review. We continue to not only complete these, but complete them expeditiously with a very thorough 3-prong review. And most importantly, and I want to talk about this, is our staffing level. In the past year, when I came into the position, we had approximately, what was it? It was a 55% staff vacancy. This is difficult because we don't have people in the seats to process your applications, your entity requests, your modification requests. That's going to take time. And so over the past year, this team has buckled down, and I'm talking about 15 to 20 hours of our 40, 60+ hour work week to sit down and make sure that we hired. This is going to mean better access to the department and to staff. And this is going to mean a more expeditious ability to get your decisions back to you so you can make your business decisions. We have been sharing this information publicly since April because knowing what our staffing levels are like means that you get to have some element of certainty in your business and your business decisions. You can bake that into the decisions that you are going to be making as part of your business. I am happy to report, Jason, where are we at today? 10%. So we've gone from 55% to 10%. It is pretty incredible, especially in a city where there is a lot of vacancy right now. So we are very proud of that. We are very excited for the folks who have come in. Many of those folks are from the city's TLH and Bridge to Job programs, which I'm super excited about. And we love them. They're all really excited to be part of this process and be part of this growing and wonderful department. Next slide, please. So I can go into this a little bit more. I think I just essentially went into it as much as I could, but it's something that we're very, very proud of. I hope folks in the audience and in the public will dig into these numbers, recognize the challenges, and hopefully they see the level of customer service improve. And if you don't, please email me. My email is michelle.karakian@lacity.org, not to put my staff on blast, but I want to make sure that we are doing the best job to provide the best customer service for our applicants and licensees. Next slide, please. I want to talk about our administrative structure. This is very important. For many years, this department has been a top-down heavy department. That means the executives that you see in front of you and in the audience have done a lot of the work because we just haven't had the staff available to provide assistance. In the past year, we have brought in 2 additional folks, Jen Marroquin. Jen, would you stand up, please? She is our public information director and also head of our civic engagement efforts. Zach DeCourse, who is not here today, but he is brought in to do administration, which is what Jason and I spent a lot of time doing prior to his arrival. We also have Jason, who's here for licensing. Dr. Brown is in the audience. She's going to be providing her updates, and Rocky as well. This is the first time we have a full executive team. We're really excited about it. And the majority of these teams that they oversee are almost fully staffed. So it is a new dawn. It is a new day. We are very excited as we move into one of the most important elements to our applicants and licensees, which is the annual licensing process, which we launched on May 1st, and Jason is going to talk about very shortly. Next slide, please. Okay, we can talk a little bit about money. Our licensees and our applicants, or once they become licensees, they bring in a significant amount of revenue and business tax to our city. In 2020, we had projected $127 million in business tax revenue. 2023 projected 130, and in 2024 projected 140. It should be noted, though, that and I don't want to seem like we don't know what's going on. We understand that there are challenges in this industry. There is a cash crisis. There is a debt crisis. And so this is why the department is pivoting to provide as much customer service as much expedient services as possible, so that time does not equal money. Furthermore, we advocate for as much as possible on grants, so we can provide direct financial assistance to individuals who need cash the most. This is still an industry that cannot take a line of credit, that cannot, bank at any FDIC institution. So it is incumbent upon the department and incumbent upon the city to understand these challenges and to work with our applicants and licensees and to pivot when the industry needs us to pivot. That is my presentation, I think. Next slide. That's it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to talk a little bit about our community outreach and engagement. Again, social media launched this year. We've been getting pretty good numbers on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're not following us, please do and share. It's very important. Written communications, we are now, before we were doing, I would say about 2 years ago, we were doing a news bulletin probably 3 times a year. In the past year, we moved it up to quarterly. Now we are doing a news bulletin monthly. This is very important because this is providing more access is key. Transparency is key for people to make their business decisions. We also provide our city council partners with a quarterly personalized report, and we also provide weekly reports to the new mayor's office. So with that, I just also want to thank our communications team and Jen for coming on and just pumping it out. It's been great. And now that is officially the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Grakian. Great job as usual. Just want to just want to commend you and your staff for just all of your efforts. And it's just great to see us able to staff up. We've been talking about this for some time, and now we're starting to see the fruits of that. In particular with the addition of Jen and the others. I'm seeing a lot more communication as well. Communication is so critical, especially for this department. The lack of information before that was being disseminated, I think that was a problem for a lot of applicants. But getting that information out there is so critical. And also from the aspect of, it doesn't matter how much good work you do if you're not letting people know what's going on. And I'm seeing more of that. And it's apparent in the type of feedback that I'm getting when I'm out and about in the community and at events, and I'm getting a lot of more positive feedback than I ever have before. So I just want to commend you and want to encourage you to continue the good works. And I want to open it up to questions or deliberations.
Question, but I don't know if it's, and I agree with Robert.
Thank you.
But I don't know if it's an appropriate question now. The revenue that this department.
Can we go back to that
gets
slide,
in-
please?
Sorry. Yeah. Do we know where in the city budget it goes to? Does it come back to DCR for staffing for our expenses? Does it get distributed, throughout the city budget?
Yeah, I'll take my.
Actually, I'm asking this question because before I became a commissioner, one of our licensed medical place said that their customers, if they knew that this money was going to youth development, to blah, things that we're concerned with in the community, that they wouldn't be so bothered by the taxes that they have to pay in the state and the city.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's.
Yeah,
Is that for another?
No, we can talk about it now, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. The department is special funded, which means that all the fees, the licensing and the permit fees that we collect go to support our staff and our processes. We do not usually take any money from the general fund. The licensed businesses who are operating, they do pay business tax, and that goes into the general fund. It's not my role or position to determine where that goes. But I would imagine our mayor, with her strong emphasis on community justice, social equity, is seeing that these funds are going to places that uplift communities. So, of
Thank you.
course.
Commissioner Lim, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle Grakian. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 3. This is the report from DCR on social equity program. Dr. B.
Everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
All right, good afternoon, commissioners, and I want to welcome our newest commissioner, Lim. Thank you so much for taking the time to join this body. Today, my report will include a summary of the business licensing compliance program.
Dr. Brown, can you get closer to the
Okay.
mic? Thank you.
Is that better? Like that? Is that okay?
I think so, yes.
This okay? All right. So my report today will include a summary of the business licensing compliance programs, accomplishments and deliverables, updates on the Cannabis Equity Grant for Local Jurisdiction Seed Rental Assistance Grant Funds and allocations to date, the Pro Bono and Low Bono Legal Services Program, our Workforce Development Initiative, and upcoming events. Next slide, please. I always begin my presentation with the mission statement of the department. This mission statement is what guides our policies and work effort every day. The mission of this social equity program is to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. Next slide. Next slide, please. I'd like to share the highlights and accomplishments of our BLC, which is affectionately known as our business licensing, compliance, and technical assistance programs. In 2022, we launched 2 new programs, our low bono legal services and the seed rental assistance grant program. Both programs have become vehicles to provide financial support to hundreds of verified social equity individual applicants and licensees. In addition to those programs, we recently launched our new and improved job board on our business licensing and compliance website. We will walk you through later in this presentation more specifics about that. Our BLC program is designed to provide the resources and training to applicants and licensees to navigate the licensure process. It allows entrepreneurs to stand up their businesses, provide training for our workforce development initiatives, and offer financial and legal assistance to ensure business stability and compliance. Next slide, please. The City of Los Angeles has given out 521 social equity licenses across 5 different activities: retail, delivery, non-volatile manufacturing, distribution, and cultivation. This represents close to 30% of all licenses, as Michelle spoke to earlier. By 2025, DCR anticipates that at least half of all licensed businesses will be owned by social equity individual applicants. Next slide, please. Okay. Here is a snapshot of the resources and educational program that the BLC has provided applicants and licensees to date. Our learning management system, or LMS, is available exclusively to verified social equity applicants. There is over 155 hours of self-paced educational content, 91 hours of live webinar content, and 8 learning pathways. This digital platform offers a comprehensive suite of information on topics such as marketing and branding, insurance requirements, commercial leasing and contract negotiations, track and trace, licensing procedures, cannabis technology application, workforce development training and good faith hiring requirements, and much, much more. In addition to our LMS programming, there were 67 applicants who were referred to our pro bono and low bono legal services program. We offer over 350 hours of one-on-one business, professional, and workforce development coaching. We have distributed 13 million in direct financial assistance through our seed grants and fee waivers. And we continue to do public outreach as a part of our workforce initiative through virtual and in-person networking events. Next slide, please. As an additional feature on the LMS, we have created new learning pathways to navigate through our curriculum effortlessly. I'm proud to share this new feature that categorizes hundreds of hours of pre-recorded content, online courses, and webinars into 3 main pathways tailored to different business stages: the exploratory phase, the business planning phase, and the operational phase. Additional pathways include advanced courses, cannabis technology, state laws and regulations, and workforce development. Now applicants and licensees can utilize these learning pathways to guide themselves through each stage of their business. Next slide, please. In 2022, the SCP team developed and launched a standalone website for the business licensing, compliance, and technical assistance programs. On this site, you're able to access the LMS, webinar registration, DCR updates, and more. In addition to that, the new BLC website houses supplemental resources such as the revamped job board, which allows job seekers to find career opportunities at licensed cannabis businesses, and also allows our licensed operators to find social equity, local, and transitional workers. The website also accesses the portal to accessing one-on-one coaching registration, DCR's monthly Canna Dispatch newsletter, and all Canna Dispatch archives, video archives, and upcoming event information. Next slide, please. The BLC website provides, and this is a graphic on the homepage, it provides a new home for all available BLC content and programming. Since the website's launch in 2022, the general public has the ability to remain informed on social equity news and updates by subscribing via our SMS and the email alert portal. Next slide. Our monthly BLC Canna Dispatch newsletter informs verified social equity applicants and licensees on additional resources and webinars offered to them, along with local, state, and national cannabis news and resources. Each newsletter is filled with new and exciting launches and events for the social equity program, including our newest workforce development resource, our job board, and our upcoming in-person networking mixer, our LA Cannabis Unite event. The dispatch also highlights vital information to the social equity community about important deadlines, the DCR Employer Toolkit, which is equipped with a user guide and updated requirements for job seekers, and our virtual coaching. This month's webinar is focused on topics such as tech tools for retaining customers, DCR's pre-application process, DCR's inspection process, and an in-depth walkthrough on contracts, operating agreements, and business structures. Next slide, please. We are thrilled to offer over 350 hours of free business, professional, and workforce development coaching with subject matter experts from a wide range of expertise. Now, coaching is available in the following business formation categories: commercial leases and negotiation, contracts, and business structures. We decided to do this from our analytics and from our feedback from the community that these three areas are, people are in dire need for more support and help with contract and leasing negotiations and business structures. Next slide. Additionally, we offer a full suite of workforce development training for job seekers. The free coaching for job seekers includes interview training, resume review, resume writing assistance, and mock interviews with their coaches. Coaches will go over with job seekers the skills required for specific careers within the licensed cannabis space, the job application process, and where to find cannabis jobs. Next slide. I'm very excited to announce the launch of our new and improved job board, now live on our VLC website. DCR launched our renovated job board on May 1st, 2023. The job board's function is to serve as a centralized hub for Los Angeles cannabis operators and job seekers to find each other. The newly added features allow job seekers to view job details, salary, position descriptions, and apply with the click of a button, making it simple to interact with multiple organizations at once, as well as have the peace of mind to know that they are applying for positions within a licensed operation. Now, for the employers, the job board is intended to support their overall staffing needs, as well as aid in their ability to meet local, transitional, and social equity good faith hiring requirements. There are currently 59 active job postings on the job board, and it will continue to grow and change as employers and employees do in the cannabis workforce. Next slide, please. The city of Los Angeles has established good faith hiring requirements for all licensed operators. Now, this survey will allow DCR to collect information and gain insight into the challenges faced by licensed businesses, and that will inform future educational programming. Now, every licensed cannabis business in the city of LA must participate in this survey and complete it annually by submitting the good faith hiring report job form. We have made this job form accessible and simple so that the analysis of each business's demographics as it relates to local, transitional, and social equity workers can be assessed. This feature supports licensed operators to comply with their good faith hiring requirements. Next slide, please. Now, the good faith hiring report can be found in the employer toolkit, along with the guide to all other employer assets on DCR's licensed employers resource page. Next slide. Social media. DCR officially launched our social media accounts on 3 platforms, as was Michelle mentioned earlier: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, which have become essential tools for getting social equity program information out into the community. Through these platforms, SEP news and updates are posted in real time, that those subscribed are aware of time-sensitive topics, deadlines, and requirements. Additionally, we want to utilize this platform to encourage participation in webinars, events, and to keep the public informed on important announcements like the latest council updates or licensing updates, relevant cannabis news, etc. We encourage everyone to join DCR's social media page. If you have not already, it's at LADCR for Instagram and facebook.com/LADCR. Next slide, please. As you may recall, last December, the DCR planned and coordinated a very special networking mixer called Los Angeles Cannabis Unite at the beautiful historic Mayfair Hotel in downtown LA. Over 500 attendees and 20 exhibitor booths, they gathered for a night to commemorate and celebrate the Los Angeles social equity operators and the cannabis workforce. Now, because this was got so much positive feedback and overwhelming support for this event, we decided to do a part 2. As the social equity program continues our efforts to highlight the DCR's Good Faith Hiring Program and Workforce Development Initiative, we have planned LA Cannabis Unite Summer Edition, a second part to our successful Unite series. This will take place on June 17th, as was mentioned earlier, once again at the historic Mayfair Hotel in downtown LA. Now, the afternoon will begin with the supply chain dating for participating social equity operators and businesses. Then we'll continue as attendees access the DCR resource room. They'll be able to take free professional headshots. They'll have one-on-one coaching available, and they'll be able to create relationships in the many open networking spaces throughout the hotel. We're proud to host this event to afford the community the opportunities to learn about cannabis careers, the industry leaders, manufacturers, cultivators, operators, licensees, and employers. Next slide, please. DCR continues to provide pro bono legal services for retail and delivery only applicants deemed eligible for further processing. This includes 10 hours of legal services completely free of charge. To date, we have referred 56 applicants through the Los Angeles County Bar Association Smart Law Referral Service, and we encourage all who qualify to take advantage of this resource. Communications are sent out to eligible applicants by email and text messaging. If you did not receive this communication but believe that you're eligible, please contact us at dcr.sep@lacity.org so we can assist you. Next slide. In our continuing efforts to provide support, resources, and services that cultivate business success, and in addition to offering the pro bono resources, with this, folks will be able to receive up to 30 hours, and this is, low bono. Once you've exhausted the 10 hours of pro bono, then you can transition into 30 hours of low bono services at a discounted rate of $35 an hour. I don't know where you can get legal services anywhere on the planet for $35 an hour. Outside of this program, attorney's fees can range between $350 to $750 an hour. So for many, the time and affordability will be monumental in clarifying and mending the many legal issues applicants and licensees present to us daily. We hope verified social equity applicants will take advantage of this program as they embark on becoming operational businesses. Next slide. This is a screenshot of the page where you can sign up for these services. Please complete the online survey and upload the authorization agreement to complete the process. Next slide, please. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the rental assistance program. I'd like to remind the commission that with the funding for the 2022 Cannabis Equity Grant for local jurisdictions, we worked diligently to develop and launch our rental assistance grant program for verified social equity applicants and licensees in September of 2022. Now, in partnership with Elevate Impact LA, we are distributing $5 million in 2 separate tiers, C1 and C2. The rental assistance grant funds may be used for the following purposes, and I want to take a little bit of time to go through, what constitutes eligibility for this grant and what the grant funds can be used for. They can be used to pay rent or a security deposit pursuant to a fully executed commercial lease for the purposes of operating a licensed commercial cannabis storefront retail location. You can use these grant funds to finance up to 1 month of back rent if you want a fully executed lease to operate a licensed commercial cannabis storefront retail. You can use these resources to secure a binding letter of intent to pay required security deposit for a commercial storefront retail location. And fourth, you can use these funds to assist with build out or construction costs for the purposes of renovating a location to operate a licensed commercial cannabis storefront retail location. Now, as long as the estimates and or unpaid invoices for the construction are budgeted items and submitted with the grant application. Next slide, please. Now, C1 utilizes 4 million of the 5 million in funding to provide direct financial support for our phase 3 retail round one verified social equity applicants and licensees. As part of the application process, we have included an educational requirement component where applicants will access our learning management system, the LMS, to complete 3 courses on business planning, leasing and contract negotiations, and licensing. They also have the option to complete an elective course outside of the suggested topics if they choose to do so. Applicants are required to complete a quiz on each subject and submit their completion certificates prior to receiving financial disbursement of up to $50,000. The first disbursement course requirement is commercial leases and contract negotiations, part 1 and 2. The second disbursement course requirement is business planning and operational development. And the third disbursement course requirement is the elective course, but it must be chosen from the LMS courses. Next slide, please. The C 2.0 rental assistance program has utilized $1 million of funding from the Cannabis Equity Grant for local jurisdictions. Applicants and licensees who are seeking temporary approval for a license, excuse me, for license types that are not retail, applicants who are seeking approval for all other license types are eligible for this C 2.0 grant. They also would have to have passed the pre-application review stage with a compliant proposed business premises. And third, they have to have an executed lease or binding letter of intent for the proposed business purposes. C 2.0 applicants are required to fulfill just one educational course requirement on commercial leases and contract negotiations parts 1 and 2 prior to receiving the grant disbursement of $10,000. Next slide, please. These are some statistics for our C grant program. The department hosted a series of 4 lunch and learn webinars after the program's official launch that walked verified social equity applicants through the seed rental assistance grant application process line for line. The Elevate Impact team has conducted extensive outreach to applicants through one-on-one direct assistance to support them through the application and submission process. We continually try to meet folks where they are, so these lunch and learns are really relevant, and we take them through the application process page by page, line for line, and answer questions in real time to help them through the application process. Our goal with this installment of the Cannabis Equity Grant is to assist qualified entrepreneurs with securing and maintaining social equity owned compliant property and businesses. Awarding equity entrepreneurs with up to $50,000 has the ability to change the trajectory of businesses that are in dire need of rental assistance right now. Next slide, please. Now, to date, 181 verified social equity entrepreneurs have received grants of up to $50,000 for this iteration of the grants. They are depositing directly into their bank accounts. A total of $2,855,000 has been dispersed for seed 1.0 recipients, and $550,000 has been dispersed for seed 2.0 recipients. The application window opened September 30th of 2022 and closed March 30th of 2023. Elevate Impact LA continues to work diligently to ensure that additional funds will be dispersed to applicants fulfilling their educational requirements and submitting documentation through July of 2023. Now, we really hope to continue programs like this while being intentional, innovative, and aligning with our mission statement and goals. As access to capital continues to be a major barrier for equity entrepreneurs. Programs like the rental assistance grant are vital. And we are very proud of rolling out yet another successful financial resource to the equity community that we serve. And with that, I will turn it back over to President Bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Thank you.
I have a question. In regards to retail stores, what, is there any benefits given to retail stores if they hire a social equity employee?
In terms of the grant or just?
In general, is there any sort of benefits that they, just a regular retail store decides to hire 5 social equity employees?
What benefits the community that they live in, specifically local hire. Local hire is considered within a 3-mile radius, a catchment area, 3-mile radius of that dispensary. But hiring transitional workers and social equity workers within the community uplifts the community because it's hiring people who need this resource.
But in terms of us giving grants or benefits or something like that.
It's not tied to local hire. No,
Okay.
it's not. The qualifications are basically for phase 3 retail round 1 and having an executed lease and, reaching certain licensure milestones that I talked about.
Great. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Are they receiving living wage? Some
From the dispensaries?
from the dispensaries that these
All of our job board jobs, they are well above living wages. They're professional wages, $18 an hour, $25 an hour. Yes, so they're well above minimum wage jobs. These are career-oriented positions, and our goal is to train a Los Angeles population, have a trained cannabis population in the city of LA. Because we recognize that everyone is not going to be an entrepreneur. So this workforce initiative specifically deals with workforce development and so much talent that can be utilized in the cannabis space.
Yeah, I was just asking because I visited a few years back and they were not paying living wage or even a decent, that was back then. Maybe they are now with all this work that you guys have put into, and they were probably illegal. I don't know. But that's why I was
Commissioner
asking, yeah,
Figueroa, the
living wage.
cannabis space has changed exponentially just in the last 3 or 4 years. What was
Right.
happening in 2018 and 2019, it's like night and day in
Mhm.
terms of the development of the industry across the board.
Mhm.
And as we develop more and more programming and educating the community as well as our operators, people see the value in promoting professional jobs and making folks aware that there's so many transferable skills among other, genres. We need accountants, we need marketing and branding people, we need insurance folks, we need delivery people. There's so many different jobs within the cannabis space, and we want to make that available to the community at large.
Thank you.
Dr. V, just to follow up on those recent points, you're right. I mean, the cannabis industry, it's almost like we are living in dog years, right? It's just from year to year, it's incredible just how much change that we see in the industry, opportunities, challenges, and everything in between. And I'm just so pleased to see our social equity program expanding beyond what we had before, really focused on the entrepreneurs, on the applicants. And I really think that's the key to the overall success of the program. And that's how you're really going to uplift communities on a larger scale. And so I'm just really happy to see the expansion of the program and just want to encourage us to continue along those lines. Because those are the folks, I mean, despite all the challenges in the industry, which are very well noted, the industry is not going anywhere. If anything, it's just going to continue to grow and expand. And with that will come employment opportunities. And training is a big part of that. And, providing access to those jobs with the training, I think that's going to be really the secret of this, or what's going to be the basis of the success of this program. So just want to thank you for the report and all of your efforts.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And next, we have item number 4. This is a report from DCR on the licensing program. Mr. Colleen.
afternoon, Commissioners. Jason Clean, Assistant Executive Director. Next slide, please. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of the licensing numbers. We have over 786 licensed locations at this time, covering over 1,450 activities. Approximately 1/3 of those licensed locations are social equity businesses, and we've issued 521 social equity licenses to date. As the director indicated, our goal is to make sure that half of our regulated market is social equity by the end of 2025. One of the big changes that are coming with the implementation of the annual licensing process is going to be transitioning away from.
Mr. Colleen, can you put the microphone closer to you, please?
Can you hear it?
Can you raise it? Is there?
Yeah, is there a way to raise that? You're too tall. There you go. Yeah.
So I will just briefly restate my comments. So currently we have over 786 licensed locations covering 1,455 different licensed activities. Approximately 1/3 of our licensed locations are social equity, and we have issued over 520 licenses to social equity businesses to date. One of the big things that's going to be changing with the rollout of the annual licensing process is we're going to get away from discussing phases. Phase 1, which is the existing medical marijuana dispensaries. Phase 2, which was the non-retail supply chain to those EMMDs. And then phase 3, which is basically new businesses to the city. Whether they were general applicants or social equity applicants, we have retail round 1 and round 2, and delivery and transportation and testing labs. What we're going to be focused on is reporting numbers based on licensees. So these are businesses that can lawfully operate within the city. We have social equity businesses and we have general businesses. We have applicants. Those are folks that are pursuing licenses. And then we have prospective applicants. Those are folks that have submitted either a pre-application review record and they have the ability to submit an application, or they're folks that were selected through one of the lotteries and they have the opportunity to submit an application. So that's one of the things that's going to be coming forward to this commission at the next meeting, is showing a new breakdown of how we have licensees, applicants, and prospective applicants, because that's how we're going to be moving people forward through the process to annual licensure. One of the big things is with this consolidation and the transition to annual licensure, we are going to have the opportunity to integrate with the LA tax system, which is the Office of Finance collects all revenues associated with commercial cannabis businesses, whether it's license fees and permitting fees, renewal fees, or the business taxes that are remitted to the city. So we've worked with them over the last 1.5 years to simplify the different activity types and codes that they utilize so we can integrate our systems. That's important because that's going to allow our businesses to access e-payment options to pay their invoices and pay their renewal fees. And our goal is to have that rolled out by September 1st in time for the 2024 renewal process. One of the other big initiatives that will be launched in the summer is integrating our licensing system with ArcGIS Online and the mapping solutions, so that information is posted to the map in a more real-time basis and doing nightly updates to the map. So our applicants and our prospective applicants have the most up-to-date information possible. And you're starting to see some increase of the labor, as the director indicated, rolling out the updated licensing maps so that folks can identify licensed locations, both social equity locations as well as general locations. One of the other big improvements is going to be the open cities module, which we will be launching for our licensing portal. That's going to allow all of the different teams within our department to interact with stakeholders, applicants, and licensees. And that's going to allow them to collect information necessary to move different critical programs forward in a uniform manner with a more web-like fit. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to transition to the big news, which is the department has been working with stakeholders, this commission, the council, and the mayor's office for over a year to implement a series of recommendations that are going to move our programming forward. And after working with stakeholders for over 6 months in this commission, we transmitted a report back in October of 2022 to basically overhaul the Los Angeles Municipal Code to streamline the process, to reduce holding costs, and to provide access to the annual application process to all applicants. Slide. On February 28th, the LA City Council requested the Office of the City Attorney to prepare and present ordinance to effectuate all of those recommended changes. On May 16th, the Planning and Land Use Management Committee considered a draft ordinance by the City Attorney's Office, and that was approved and transmitted to the office or the City Council. And then earlier this week, on May 23rd, the City Council considered that draft ordinance and adopted it forthwith. It was transmitted by the city clerk to the mayor's office on May 24th. The mayor has 10 days to consider the draft ordinance. So we anticipate that the draft ordinance will be transmitted back to the city council for publishing by next Friday. This is going to be important because this is going to allow for us to start implementing the annual application process for all applicants. As the director stated earlier, we launched the formal annual application process on Monday, May 1st. We converted 588 of our existing license records into annual records so that businesses that had temporary approval, as well as created a legal business entity record, had the opportunity to submit all of their environmental documents, as well as provide a copy of local site control, which could be an executed lease or a property deed, and their current business premises diagrams so that we can complete their environmental report. The completion of the environmental report is of course important because that's going to allow our existing licensees to renew their state provisional license after July 1st of 2023. So that's one of the new requirements that the state has implemented. And then of course, the state is in the process of phasing out the issuance of new provisional licenses. Therefore, in order to become a licensed and operating business, it's going to be important for the applicant to get a local annual license, get their adopted environmental review report so that they can have a complete state annual license, and then of course pursue their state annual license. So one of the big things that came out of this ordinance was we are going to be able to immediately put people from our pre-application review process directly into the annual application process. And the goal there is to reduce holding costs, because under the old law, folks had to navigate to temporary approval. Then they had to go through the environmental review process. Then and only then they submit their annual application. And then after their annual application was submitted, they had to undergo a final inspection, demonstrate that they meet all local requirements and state requirements just to get to your body for a decision. So what we've done with this process now is we've bifurcated a series of processes so that we have different record types so that applicants can move at different paces. And this is important for social equity applicants. So now folks can submit their legal business entity record. We can vet the business entity, the proprietors of that entity, as well as do the equity share review before they even have to submit an application to us. So if you're a prospective applicant, you don't need to have a location to go through the legal business entity review. So that cuts 3 to 6 months out of the review process if they were to submit it early before they submitted an application. And then of course, when they get to the application process, that's going to be focused on time, place, and manner. Do you have site control? Do you have a compliant proposed business premises location? Have you submitted your indemnification agreement? Do we have your attestations? If you've already gone through the legal entity review, it's really quick for us to do that. We can do it within 90 days. And then from there, we can deem the application complete. And then once we deem the application complete, we can move it forward to whether the director as the decision maker for non-storefront activities, or to this body after going through the community, so that folks have to secure the location, pay rent for a lower period of time before they're actually able to walk out. And that's going to be huge for the success of social equity applicants who may not have access to that traditional capital. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to briefly go over just some of the big changes here. ECR is going to cease accepting new temporary approval applications from general applicants at the end of this month. And then we will cease accepting new temporary approval applications from social equity applicants at the end of July. The reason behind that is the state will have already phased out provisional licenses at that time. So if you didn't already have a temporary approval application pending and a provisional application at the state level, you're no longer eligible for a state provisional license, and that's set by state. So the important thing there is to transition the folks that don't have temporary approval into our annual application process, because they need us to adopt the environmental findings and finalize that report to have a complete state annual application. And unless we have the ability to do that through the annual process, they're never going to be able to. So the intent with these deadlines is to transition people into a process that could result in licensure and the ability to meet the state's updated mandated requirements as of July 1st of this year. In order to help our local licensees be competitive, we have extended our temporary approval application renewal process through the end of calendar year 2027. So that gives them the ability to continue to renew their local temporary approval beyond when the state will allow you to renew your provisional license, but also pursue in parallel an annual license so that you continue transition. And then any of the temporary approval licenses issued into 2020, of course, expire at the end of that calendar year. So we've set up a process to ensure that anybody who meets the requirements can transition to annual licensure well before the state's deadline as well as the city's deadline. One of the comments to be brought up here is Senator Bradford did introduce Senate Bill 51. The goal of Senate Bill 51 would be to ensure that social equity applicants have an extended access to the provisional licensure process at the state level. That is folks that have an annual application pending before the department will have a pathway to temporary approval through that annual application as part of the workflow if Senate Bill 51 is adopted. That's already baked into the annual record that the director has approved and will be going into process in early June. And then the last piece is, I know there was a comment earlier about the abandonment process and what happens when folks fail to meet the deadlines. The abandonment process was created to give a pathway to folks that were in our pipeline to give them the opportunity to refile. And the director pushed to extend the refiling period from 1 year to 3 years to give people more time to make business decisions, find compliant locations, and not lose their opportunity to get a licensed commercial cannabis business. So under the old code, if you were out, you were out. With the abandonment, if you lose site control, you can't find compliant location, your investors back out, social equity applicants and general applicants get the ability to come back into that process within 3 years. And the goal there is to allow people that do want to move forward without having to make bad business decisions or be locked into agreements that are never going to result in issuance of a license. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the temporary rule being phased out, any record that's abandoned after July 1st of this year will be refiled as an annual application. The goal there is to get them through the local annual application process, get the annual application, meet the requirements to operate. As I mentioned, refiling will be extended from 1 year to 3 years once the ordinance goes into effect. This extension of time will also apply to temporary approval applications that were abandoned last year. We have not closed out any of the records that were abandoned in April or May of 2022, with the expectation that this will become law in the near future. The annual application process will be open to all applicants in early June. We will be closing down the DCR licensing portal on Friday, June 2nd, to push the annual application record, as well as a lot of updates for that process into the production environment. And we will bring the DCR licensing our portal back up on Monday, June 5th. I will be doing a 2-hour webinar that afternoon to walk stakeholders through the new functionality that will be created through the portal, how folks that did not have an annual application record created on their behalf and submit their annual application record, as well as upload documents to the department. One of the big things for the annual application process is we shifted the final inspection to before the application can be complete until after the annual license has been issued. One of the things there is previously you had to have a state license and meet all of the other permitting requirements before you could request a final inspection. But if the state requires you to have the city annual license and to have an adopted environmental report, you'll never be able to meet the requirements. So the director working with the city council was able to convince them to shift that to the end of the process so that we can go through a time-based manner, give people peace of mind whether or not they can get the annual license, get what they need to get their state annual license, and then work with building and safety, fire, public health to get all of their permits. And when they have all of that, they come back to the department and say, I'm ready for my final inspection. We will issue them an operating permit, and they can begin to operate under their annual process. Again, the goal is to take something that could have been 18 months long and consolidate that into smaller bite-sized chunks to reduce their holding costs, knowing that will not run out as far as social equity applicants that don't have that access to the capital. Next slide, please. I know we had the question earlier to Dr. Brown about the annual process. As part of the state's annual process, businesses do have to demonstrate that they have labor peace agreements in place if they have 10 or more employees. So that's one of the ways that the state is ensuring that these businesses are providing at least a prevailing wage and giving their employees the opportunity to eat. The state is the lead on that endeavor. And of course, anybody who gets through the state's annual process and gets back to us for final inspection of the operating permit will have to demonstrate to the state that they've met those requirements. And locally, you know, as Dr. Brown mentioned, we do have local hiring requirements built into the code, and Dr. Brown and her team are working with operators to build the job board out and to show Angelinos what types of jobs they can get by working in these regulated businesses. We will be rolling out an update to our rules and regulations in early June to reflect the amended ordinance. That's going to necessitate changes to the form information and procedure bulletins as well. Again, the licensing portal will be updated in early June and available to all applicants. Our executive director will have the opportunity to begin approving annual applications this summer and making determinations to issue annual licenses. She has the authority to issue annual licenses for everything except for the retail storefront activities. That license type must come to this body. Once we deem the application complete, the department will be responsible for conducting community meetings, collecting community input, and then forwarding that complete application as well as that community input to this body for further consideration. And the code does anticipate mandatory timelines for us to transmit this information to this body for consideration. So we are on track to get all of those deadlines. As the director mentioned, she has spent the better part of the last year reducing the vacancy rate 55% down to 10%. We are fully staffed. The new admin team has made sure that we do have the access to contractual services so that if we do need to bring in additional people to help with environmental review or anything else, we do have contractors that are going to be able to do that. And the goal there is, of course, to get people to use. Once the annual license has been issued, it is a tangible asset. It can be bought and it can be sold, it can be transferred, which is not the case with the temporary approvals. Under the temporary approval structure, you had to submit a new application. So you couldn't collateralize that temporary approval. With the new annual licenses, once folks get their annual license, one, they can use it as collateral. And then two, if they lose site control and they find a new compliant location, we'll be able to transfer that license to the new location. And then all they'll have to do is actually meet the permitting requirements for the new location, pass their final inspection, and they'll get their operating permit at the new location. So that's one of the things that the director has really done to make sure that once people have cleared the hurdle for the annual license, that if they have to change with a license is associated, the entity it's associated with, it's streamlined, and it's up to them to just meet the permitting requirements that are outside of DCR's control before they can operate the license. That is all I have for my presentation, and I look forward to reporting back to the commission the next week.
Thank you, Mr. Clean. Commissioners, any questions? Happy to see all the streamlining that's going on, and I'm sure we'll continue to see more of it. But you know, certainly it must be a relief for all of our applicants, especially as we're approaching the annual processing. I know there's been a lot of consternation regarding that. In particular, a lot of questions about CEQA. That's something that a lot of people hadn't really been thinking about, but now it's right before us. On that note, you mentioned outside vendors for CEQA. Talk a little bit about that. How are we going to implement that? How are we going to use that to help streamline the process even further?
Thank you. So the state of California gave the city almost $22 million through the local jurisdiction assistance grant, or the LJAG. And part of those monies were intended to facilitate the conversion of provisional licensees into the annual licensing process. And part of that process is the environmental report required under CEQA. So utilizing those grant funds, that is paying for the department staff to review for categorical exemptions. And knowing that we have over 800 locations that are going to have to go through this review, we partnered with the Department of City Planning. They have a bench of consultants that have already been verified to do this work for not only planning projects and engineering projects, but now they can do it for cannabis related projects and review that. So if we do have folks submitting the 4013s as part of the annual process and we don't have staffing capacity to process that and issue the reports, we can then go out and do a mini bid to this bench of vendors so that they can help do the analysis and prepare the report for DCR's review. And then if we concur with their analysis, we can then transmit it either to the director or to this body for further consideration.
But the outside vendors will not be assisting applicants, or is there that option as well?
So when we refer the project,
Yeah.
if the contractor has questions related to the project, they'll reach out directly to the applicant to get the questions addressed. Also with this new ordinance, the ordinance will give the applicant the option to hire their own environmental consultant to prepare the report, and they'll be able to submit that as part of their annual application. And then we'll review that report that's already been prepared to determine whether or not it's complete. And if so, then we can forward it to the appropriate body for approval. So the new ordinance does create a pathway for the applicant to contract with somebody else to do their own environmental analysis to further streamline and expedite the review process.
If they don't hire their own consultant, can they tap into this panel of outside vendors
Yes, sir.
to assist them? Okay. And then what's the timeline look like?
So for existing applicants that have already submitted the 4013 forms, we're already working on the notices of completion, which is the draft environmental report, so that folks can renew their state provisional licenses after July 1st. And then for folks that will be coming into the annual application process, we'll begin to do that review. And the second that we don't have the capacity to complete that review within 30 days, we'll be looking to bring in the consultants to assist us with the review.
Got it. Thank you. Final question. I get a lot of questions about the transferability of these licenses, and you touched on that. In particular, because they are social equity, presents another layer of considerations. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the technical aspects, like how these licenses can be transferred?
Sure.
Given the social equity component.
So with the director approving the creation of the legal business entity record, that allows us to vet the entity for compliance with Municipal Code Section 10420, which is where the social equity provisions live. Now, if you're going to be requesting effectively the transference of a license, the entity that you're proposing to transfer the license to will have had to have gone through the legal business entity review, where the DCR team will have determined whether or not that new entity meets the requirements. If it's a general license, they don't have to comply with 10420. There are no restrictions on it. So to the extent that the legal entity has been vetted and there's no issues with the ownership of that legal entity, we'll be able to transfer the license from entity A to entity B. If it is a social equity license, of course, the ownership transfer of the license will have to comply with 10420. And because the prospective business will have already gone through the legal business entity record and the necessary equity share review, we'll be able to more quickly determine whether or not the license can be transferred to that entity or not.
So I guess the question more specifically would be, if you have a social equity license, general license, there's no restrictions. If you have a social equity license, do you have to transfer it to another entity that has a social equity qualified applicant, right? That's so we keep it in the stock,
Correct.
so to speak.
Yes, and just building on that, one of the amendments that went through earlier this year is under the original law, one social equity individual applicant had to have the requisite equity in the entity for it to be considered a social equity license. The law was amended earlier this year to allow for social equity individual applicants to aggregate their equity to meet the 51% requirement, which makes licensure more available to groups of social equity applicants that want to pool resources to get in on an opportunity or to submit an application record. And that's another one of the things that the director implemented earlier.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Any final thoughts or questions? No? Mr. Clean, as usual, thank you very much for the detailed report, and we look forward to your next one.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item number 5. This is our final item. We have here a report from the Compliance and Enforcement Program. Ms. Rocky Wiles, thank you for being here.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Rocky Wiles. I'm with the Department of Cannabis Regulation, Compliance and Enforcement Division. So since the City Council approved the allocation of positions for this, can you hear me? It feels like I can't. For this unit, and then the subsequent approval by the Civil Service Commission of these positions, we have been ferociously hiring and interviewing applicants. So I'm happy to report that our unit, which is really it's one supervisor. We have 2 special investigators, 2 management analysts, and a senior admin clerk in this unit. We have made offers, and hopefully we're going to be fully staffed by the next meeting. I'm happy to report that. Of course, now the real work starts because we have to train these folks and begin the real work. Next slide. So I'm going to just give a brief update on what we've been working on. But before I do that, would like to start by, as Dr. Brown usually does, is stating what our mission will be, what our goals for this new division will be. So for the Compliance and Enforcement Division, our goals are going to be, education through outreach. We want to share information, and we want to make sure that that information is easily accessible. We want to be transparent. We want to encourage operators to be good neighbors, right? To comply with our regulations. We want to implement a progressive enforcement strategy to achieve compliance. Luckily, these new tools they were approved by council, so we're still waiting for the mayor to sign the ordinance, but we have been provided now with the approval of these amendments with the tools to implement this progressive enforcement strategy, which would start with the department issuing a notice to correct if we find that there's a violation, which would carry very low fees, basically just an administration fee. Whereas the next step would be issuing a notice of violation that carries pretty hefty fines. We're hoping that by beginning with a notice to correct, reaching out to our operators if there are violations, that we would be able to achieve that compliance. But if not, we have the next tool, which is the notice of violation. That progresses into a notice of suspension if we can't gain compliance, and we can go up to notice of revocation. So these are new amendments that were just approved by council. I'm very happy to report that they went through. The next thing is, we do want more clarity on the operational regulations, and that is regulation number 5 and 7 are the ones that the unit is going to be focusing on. These are the operational requirements. We encourage all the licensees to review these regulations carefully because our unit will begin conducting compliance inspections later this year. Again, we want to make sure that folks understand what these regulations require. And if there's questions, we encourage people to reach out to us before, it becomes something where they receive a notice violation, because we can't put that genie back in the bottle once we issue a notice. And then, we do want to establish that working relationship with our operators. We don't want to be punitive. We want to be, again, educational, and we want to help people thrive in this industry. We know it's very difficult. So, next slide. So this is some of the things I know in the past I've talked about, some of the things we've worked on. We have back last July, we rolled out the program with the county. to issue these emblems to the retail businesses. Out there. We have approximately 277 retailers in the city. Can you go to the next slide? So I can show. So our agreement with the county, they conduct our health inspections for us. We have so far they have issued 27 emblems to our retailers. It's been a slow rollout only because it is voluntary. But I think that in the past month we've seen an uptake because I think that there people are starting to understand that they can't get their operational permit until they pass or they have this health permit. So we talk to the county almost on a daily basis. We have been also helping them trying to reach out to our non-retailers. Seems like we're having a little bit of a harder time with our non-retailers, getting them to call and get their site evaluations inspections scheduled. So we do need to do a little bit more work trying to encourage these folks to get these inspections because they do take time. And if they don't pass, they will have to submit plans to the county, and that's another expense, and that is a lengthier process. So anybody listening, I would encourage you to contact the county so that you get your inspections scheduled. Also, the county, and if you go to this presentation that is shown right now, there's links on that slide that send you to the county's website. They have really good information on how you can pass those inspections. You basically just have to follow the steps and call, and more than likely you will pass. Now, if you do the site evaluation, you don't need to submit plans. So it's really, really a huge advantage if you can get a site evaluation schedule so that you don't have to go through the planning process with the county. Can you go back to the previous? We've also been doing a little bit of outreach to our operators. With temporary approval, we have required them to submit to us an attestation, basically attesting that they have read the operational requirements. We handed these operational requirements to them so that they know what they're supposed to comply with. And in return, they give us the signed attestation that we, now we have in their licensing record. So we know that they have received all the regulations. And also, it's not just for the licensee, but the employees, the people in charge, the managers. We want to make sure that everybody has them. The next step to doing this is once we get all the staff into the department trained, we're going to do a little bit more outreach to the folks that have not submitted these attestations, and perhaps start doing some visits to those folks. Continuing to work on developing the webpage. We're going to put more information, so I encourage folks to visit that webpage. There's still a lot of information that we have to add. So just continue to check. Again, this is a new program, so we have to develop all the procedures, all the protocols, the internal training, trying to work with the state in retaining a vendor that can do some of the safety and tactical training for the staff that's going to be out in the field. You can imagine that it's not when we go out there for a compliance inspection or an investigation, it may not be we may not be welcome, right? So we want to make sure that our folks have the right safety training to de-escalate situations if that happens. But our operators are great, so I think that they're going to be very happy that we're out there. We've also we've been working with a vendor. Actually, we're about to execute that contract. He's going to provide a study that's going to look at past enforcement strategies. Study the data that has been collected by the city. Basically, it's just to provide recommendations on new progressive enforcement strategies that we can implement. All this, we have this study, we also conducted an outpatient counseling a little bit. We've also, and so that's gonna take about 9 months to do this study on this progressive enforcement strategies, but we hope to, once we have that, and we have the results of the town halls that we conducted, we're gonna put that together in a report, submit it to council, and hopefully, get some real good new amendments to the code that will help us continue to gain compliance and enforcement through, more, like I said, more progressive enforcement tools rather than punitive. That's what some of the reports show in the past. Next slide.
Can I ask a question or wait till it's over?
Well, yeah, let's wait until her presentation, but please make
I wrote it
notes.
down.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to also emphasize is, and we also have to do this because people tend to forget that the department does not have any jurisdiction over illegal enforcement. Although we do work very closely with LAPD and some of the other agencies that are in charge of providing that enforcement. The new mayor has also, with Mayor Garcetti, we had a cannabis task force that we met we met monthly. We have continued to meet, but I'm not sure if that's going to continue. I hope that it does, because a lot of good ideas, for example, the padlock ordinance, these things came out of this cannabis task force. Next slide. But again, we don't have any jurisdiction over the legal enforcement. So some of the things that we've been working on is enhancements to our complaint portal. The problem that it was very unorganized and there was a lot of information in there. We didn't know how to run our reports because some of the statuses were not really related to cannabis activities. So there was a lot of cleanup that we had to do. It's taken about 9 months, maybe closer to a year actually, to go through and revise a lot of the statuses, provide, facilitate the way that the public can submit a complaint. And also in the back office, the way that we can run reports and workflow the complaint and then follow up on them. So that is actually completed. There's a couple of bugs that we have to figure out, but basically the entire complaint portal has been enhanced. And now when somebody submits a complaint, they get a response right away. Basically saying we received the complaint. Whenever we change the status of a complaint, the complainant, if they provide an email, will get a response. We'll get an email basically updating the status of the complaint. So before there was no way that a person would know what was happening with their complaint. Now they can either go back and check the complaint portal, or they will receive this email from us. So these are really good announcements that we provided. And then on the other side, once we did that, we were able to run much better reports. And these are the numbers that I just pulled. Actually, they were excuse me, in March. So since 2018, since the complaint portal went up, we have received 6,347 complaints. Of those, we have closed, my staff has closed 4,388 complaints that we closed. And the statuses of those were, a lot of them were duplicates. Some of them had nothing to do with cannabis. Some of them, we had no jurisdiction, like for testing, things like that. So we refer them to the state. And some of them, they were not commercial cannabis activities. So, we had complaints about people smoking on the sidewalk, things like that. We have really no jurisdiction over that. So, but out of, the closest 6,300 complaints, we have about 455 that we do have to investigate. So it's quite, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit of work. that we have ahead of us, but we will figure, we will have to figure that out. And in future meetings, I hope to bring to you at least a more clear plan on how we're going to tackle these complaints that are still pending for us to investigate. Next slide. Finally, some of the things that we did last year is we conducted 3 town hall events, and the primary goal of these town halls was to, communicate and engage with the public, with the communities. They were held in 3 different areas in the city, so 3 different council districts. And from that, we worked with the vendor, and we basically, we gave presentations to the community to make sure that they understood what the jurisdiction of DCR versus LAPD was. And then after that, we broke into rooms, and basically there were listening sessions. And a report came out of that is linked to this presentation that basically summarizes all the findings and, what the community thinks. And it's not surprising that, a lot of the complaints were about the illegal shops. So that's one of the biggest, I think, factors that really, prevents or really impacts the legal market, And part of the study that we were going to, that we're asking for, is to look at that economic impact of the illegal market. And once that's done, we're going to bring that again back to you, and hopefully we'll have other recommendations on how to, eliminate or at least reduce as much as we can the illegal market, so that we can help the legal market. Next slide. I think that's it. I think that's the last. Any questions?
Is that it? Commissioner Figueroa.
Yeah, what are we, just clarity for myself? What are we considering progressive enforcement? What does that mean?
Well, it's basically, you start with something that is not as bringing down the hammer. We could go out there, would find a violation, and we can give a notice violation and charge you $42,000. And then, and that's it. I mean, you either have to pay it or you appeal it. I mean, it's, you start, that would be just one way of, of handling enforcement. We feel that it would be better to start with the outreach. So for example, we have this attestation that is required, right, of them. And so basically the attestation says, I have read and I understand and I promise that I'm going to abide by these regulations. So that's step 1, right? If there's a complaint, we go, we investigate, we find something, and give them a notice to correct and say there's a complaint, here's your opportunity to correct it. We'll come back to see if it's, the violation is still there. Now, we have to recover at least the administrative cost of that, but it wouldn't be in the thousands. It might be, $400, $500, maybe less. If we don't get compliance, then we issue a notice of violation. We would issue a notice of violation. Now, for notice for violations of the regulations, the penalties range from $7,000 to $42,000, and that's per violation. So if you have, say, 3 major violations, you're looking at like 120 or 120,000. So, but we've given you, a chance not to get to that. So that's the progressive.
Thank
Is that
you.
it?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lim?
Yes, I have a question. If the DCR has no jurisdiction over illegal and illicit retail stores that are out there, can you tell us in detail? Oh, thank you. Can you tell us in detail how DCR handles these 6,400 complaints that you receive, which majority of them are illegal and illicit businesses?
Oh yeah, good question. So we work with LAPD like on a daily basis. So when these complaints come into the portal, my staff triages them right away and we send them to LAPD. The complaint portal is set up in a way that when we refer a complaint, it goes to the right LAPD division. And then they follow up and they open an investigation. They do have to check back with us. There's a process because the code requires us to verify. So they come back to us, we sign the form, but and then they have their own tools. They have search warrants. They can disconnect utilities. They have this padlock ordinance that they can also use. So again, they also have progressive enforcement tools. But that's, and again, we work with them and also fire department. A lot of coordination has to happen. In fact, I was just speaking to the investigators over at DCC. And we're really trying to figure out a way to come up with an agreement between and perhaps even the county, because you see, we are required to conduct compliance inspections at the local level. The state is required to conduct compliance inspections, and the county is required to conduct site evaluations. So, we have to find a way to use our resources because we're all strapped. The state has 2 investigators for the entire southern region. I talked to them, I asked them, how do you distribute your workload? I talked to the supervisor. She said that she expects no more than, I believe she said 10 compliance inspections a month. If we end up with, say, 450, 500 retail, that's just the retailers. My staff would have to do, like 200 inspections. It's crazy. And that doesn't even include the investigations. So I really think that at least for the compliance side, that we can forge, some kind of an agreement with these other entities, and they're willing to. So just have to figure out what that's going to look like so we can, we don't have to do repetitive work, lots of work ahead.
Anything else?
No.
Ms. Wiles, thank you for the report. And enforcement is such a critical part of what we do here for this industry. And so really want to thank you for your efforts on that front. And I know you're one of the more newer divisions. How are you in terms of staffing and just in terms of resources?
So glad you asked. So we have 2 special investigators that are personnel employees. We don't have those positions allocated to our department. Which is, it's okay, it works out, but eventually we would like to get those positions, dedicated to in our department. But we basically have 2 special investigators, 2 management analysts, 1 senior admin clerk, and 1 supervisor. It's not enough. I will tell you right now, it's not enough. At some point, I think that I feel like
What's going on?
remember that.
Hillary Clinton.
I didn't realize Mr. Clean was so tall on the Zoom. I couldn't tell. My goodness. Go ahead. Yeah.
So no, it's not enough, so but because our boss, Michelle, I'm sorry, the director really made us focus on hiring. We have, the unit is now, it's fully staffed. We just haven't brought everybody in. I'm still in the process of onboarding people. We are ready to make an offer to another special investigator. We've made offers to management analysts. So we've conducted all the interviews and we've made the offers. I just have to bring them over and get them trained.
Yeah, I know it's a whole process, but I know you built this essentially from scratch. It didn't exist before you came. So just want to commend you for your work and all your efforts.
Oh, appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And someone's behind you over there.
So just to add to that, the big focus right now is transitioning folks from provisional licensure to annual licensure. And then the compliance inspections are a bigger component once people have their annual licenses and their operating permits. So we do have a glut of records that need to move through. But as we mature as a department, more of the licensing analysts will transition over to being compliance and under Rocky's wing to expand compliance because we'll have a lower pipeline of application records. So internally, we've already kind of addressed the need for additional compliance, regardless of whether or not we get additional bodies to do it day one. We will be transitioning internal positions to support voter.
I like that plan a lot. Ms. Grockin?
Rocky, can you come back up? I could have just given Jason my microphone right here, but you had to loom. I just want to also commend Rocky on the incredible work that she has done, especially, and she's not going to say this herself, but last year we had a audit come out from the outgoing controller, Galperin, on cannabis in Los Angeles. And that audit looked at our cannabis complaint portal. And as Rocky said, it was complex. And what Rocky and her team were able to do through a lot of overtime and a lot of hard work was remedy. If you can go back to that slide, Aaron, I think it's really impactful. You're talking about, here we go, 6,300 complaints submitted. Rocky and her team over the course of about a month or 2 months were able to, with a lot of folks from Jason's team, able to mitigate all of this. And I just want to commend you for that. It was really incredible. And so, we have 7%, which equals to 455 under pending investigation. And she's being very coy when she talks about like, this is 7% seems small, but 455 is a lot. So that's verifying that these locations are in compliance. If they're not, then working with our special investigators to start an investigation. So as Jason mentioned, as we are moving folks through the annual licensing process, people start getting their annual license, which they just renew every year. The majority of the work is actually going to go into the compliance and enforcement team to ensure that these businesses who have an annual license are continuing to stay compliant with the rules and regulations. So you will likely see Rocky's team get larger at some point, but she's just done such an incredible job. And we're really lucky to have you and your team who've also helped in organizing this meeting today. So
No, I appreciate that. But it's really my staff. They don't see me all day. I'm like in meetings and they're continuing to do the work that needs to be done. So it's really, I can't take the credit. It's really Josie and Irene and everybody here who's as a department, we do have a great staff that does the overtime, right? I could have said, we need people, and then nobody could have volunteered. This was volunteer.
yeah, and it was also during Christmas time.
During Christmas. So that just tells you, we do have really great staff that just steps up and does the work. So,
I have one final question. These complaints are from the complaint portal.
yes.
Now there's also 311 where a lot of folks also complain about, various issues. Are those complaints making its way over to our department?
I think if they call 311 and they're related to cannabis, they probably get forwarded to us. We have, my staff, if we get complaints, email or, we have council deputies that call us, we funnel everything through the complaint portal. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to have, good reporting, right? So if we're taking complaints and just emailing and, then we're not going to have real numbers. So everything comes through the
Yeah.
complaint portal.
Well, what's that process? Suppose you get a call from a council office about a specific concern.
Yeah.
Do you then internally, somebody manually puts it into the complaint portal so it's all flowing through the same system?
Yeah, we try to educate, and that's part of what I have to do, right? It's just make sure that everybody in the city, all the council deputies know how to use this complaint portal. And if they just want to email us, then my staff will take that and input it manually.
So it'll
or on
find
their
its
behalf.
way. It's got to find its way into the
Right.
system.
But one of the enhancements that
Yeah.
one of the enhancements that we made to the complaint portal is actually provide a way to submit, so my staff can submit a complaint on behalf of somebody else. So we know who was the original complainant, so if I want to know how many complaints came from council offices and, I have that number. So that, because we did consider that,
Okay, great.
So in regards to what you said, so if the complaint is filed through the LAPD, through 311 or through someone going to the police station and reporting an illegal illicit retail store, that automatically goes into your portal?
No. So in LAPD, a lot of the locations that they go after, it's not, some of them come from our complaints that we refer to them, but a lot of the times it's the actual police officers in that community that know that community. And if they notice, that there is a new shop, then they verify with us and then they go after it. They don't complain about it. So that is another issue or challenge that we have to figure out how to get those numbers back into our report. We are connected through the portal with LAPD. So, it's just a matter of getting the numbers and how we're going to merge them so we can come up with, a good report as far as the illegal, the illegal cases that they're handling.
So what would you say is the advantage of filing a complaint through the portal instead of going to the police station and making a complaint to the police station about an illegal or illicit retail store?
Well, it's probably more convenient, I would say, because our form is it's very simple to just, from your phone or from your home, just submit the complaint and it will get to the same place as opposed to you going down to the police station. But people often just complain to us. It's PD finds these locations and then they go after them on their own, but most of the complaints do come through the complaint portal. Yeah.
Just say it's multiple options, multiple bites at the apple,
We're never going to truly get the total number of, illegal shops out there because we closed one down and another one opens, but, we got to keep trying.
I will say this too is annually, sometimes quarterly, PD sends us numbers. So
Yeah.
Rocky has those, we can send those to you at any time.
In fact, I believe there was a motion. We owe you a presentation by LAPD. Quarterly, they're supposed to come and.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, when was the last one? Do you remember?
I think it was in September. We were going to schedule one in.
I think it was sometime in November, December.
Because we need to give you the year and numbers.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
enforcement, that's another thing that comes up all the time.
Right.
Everyone's concerned. And then recently there's been a lot of stuff in the papers. LA Times has
Yeah.
done several articles on the enforcement issue. So
I just wanna-
think it's a good time.
I want to go back to something too that Rocky mentioned earlier. We had the Cannabis in Your Community events, those 3 different events around the city where we had, it was like a 3-hour listening session with community members. There's a lot of really interesting ideas on there. And that report is available for anybody to read, but Rocky also has funding as part of the enforcement grant to do this study with this academic institution. And the idea here is for that individual to look at the Cannabis in Your Community study that we did, and then look at what we are currently doing with our enforcement tools, and then look at the successful enforcement tools that other jurisdictions are using all over the country so that they can provide to the department and ultimately to the city a set of revised and or new recommendations. I mean, we are only as good as our tools. And so there is a bunch of them on there. And again, this city, when we talk about progressive enforcement, Commissioner, what that means is that we're not trying to really truly, I mean, there's multiple meanings, but the true meaning of it is we're not trying to create the drug board 2.0. Cannabis is legal. And so we want to look at this from a civil enforcement matter. That's why you have a padlock ordinance where you're padlocking a building, utility shutoffs where you're turning off the lights and the water. You don't want to have a criminal and punitive aspect here. You don't want to put people back in jail for working in a legal facility that they may not even know was illegal. So part of this study that Rocky is going to be doing here is looking at more civil enforcement aspects so that we can continue to provide opportunities, not provide opportunities, but to work with our council offices to implement new ways to get at the goal of shutting down these illegal businesses by using maybe a carrot and stick policy approach. With the ultimate intent to create a healthy environment for our consumers. It's number one, but create a healthy environment for our kids. Number two, and also create a level playing field for our local licensed businesses who go through hell and back to get licensed when an illegal shop can just pop up down the street, don't have to follow any rules and are selling product at 30 to 40% cheaper. So the work that Rocky is doing on and I'm going to compliment you, but the work that Rocky is doing on the behind the scenes internal work is very important, but also the policy rumination and thinking about that in development is also equally as important. And so you're seeing that today in her presentation. So we should probably do like a whole enforcement related report back on everything at some point.
Yeah, that would be great. Commissioners, how does that sound? We'll get a report back on some of the enforcement efforts and some of the data.
Yeah, I think it would be
The
cool.
enforcement show.
Yeah, once we sign the contract, we
Okay.
can talk a little bit about the keys, and get LAPD here.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fantastic.
I was just gonna say, receive the compliments. I mean.
I
they'll
know.
really
It's just
say-
that I feel like,
and I
you know,
just- I know you have a team, but
Yeah,
they
I ju-
couldn't without your leadership.
thank you.
Okay?
No, I do.
So receive it, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And while we're at it, we should throw out compliments for our calls team and obviously for Dr. Brown for kicking ass and her team and Jason and his team for kicking ass. We have some of those members in our audience today. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's it.
Great. That concludes the business items that we have for the commission. Commissioner Lim, it was your first day. How was it?
It was good.
You survived.
I survived.
Thank you. Just want to thank everyone. Want to thank the members of the public that are here in person. This is our first public meeting in so long. I can't even remember the last time we met. But it's good to be back in person, be face to face. So just want to thank everyone for being here, all the staff for preparing for this meeting, and to my fellow commissioners for making your time, and thank you for your service. The time now is 4:09. This meeting is adjourned.